Chosen one, 3 seconds of complete silence. Chosen one. Stop scrolling. Have you ever wondered why your children barely call anymore? Why your grandchildren seem like strangers? Why, at 75, 80, 90 years old, you're still here when so many others have gone home? What if I told you that every sleepless night, every doctor's appointment you've survived, every funeral you've attended, was God keeping you alive for 2 specific days? The 1st of September and 2nd. Pause. Let it land. The 1st of September and 2nd. 2 days etched in heaven's calendar before time began. 2 days when the unseen realm will collide with the seen. 2 days that will separate those who are merely aging from those who are appointed. Listen to me carefully, beloved. This isn't another sermon about patience. This isn't feel-good inspiration to get you through another lonely afternoon. This is a divine alarm clock, and it's ringing at 3 a.m. in your spirit right now. Why did God keep you breathing through that heart attack in 2098? Why did you survive the cancer when the doctors said 6 months? Why are your eyes still open to see this message when your high school class is down to 12 people? Because the 1st of September and 2nd are coming. These aren't ordinary dates. These are the culmination of every prayer you've whispered in the dark, every tear you've cried over your prodigal children, every moment you've wondered if God forgot your address. He didn't forget. He was positioning you. But here's what will shatter your heart if you ignore these days. If you scroll past this moment, if you treat the 1st of September and 2nd like ordinary calendar squares, you could miss the very breakthrough you've been waiting decades to receive. Voice urgent now, building to crescendo. This message found you because heaven intercepted your scroll, because the Almighty Himself said, "This one needs to know, this one has been faithful. This one deserves to understand why they're still here." Before we go deeper into this divine mystery, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating. You're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and sow that seed of faith. But right now, if your spirit is already burning, if something ancient is stirring in your chest, type in the comments, "I'm listening, Lord." Don't be passive. Don't just watch. Declare it. Let heaven hear you. Because what I'm about to reveal about the 1st of September and 2nd will explain everything you thought was delay and prepare you for everything that's about to accelerate. The countdown has already begun. Why have you survived every heart attack, every surgery, every diagnosis that should have taken you home to glory? Why are you still breathing when your high school yearbook looks like an obituary page? Why did God let you bury your spouse, your siblings, your lifelong friends, yet keep you here, alone in that same house on Maple Street, counting pills and watching the world change without you? Because the 1st of September and 2nd are coming, and you are not here by accident. Listen to me, chosen one. These dates are not ordinary marks on your kitchen calendar between doctor appointments and grocery runs. These are divine checkpoints carved into God's eternal timeline, moments when heaven pauses to separate the faithful from the fearful, the watchful from the weary, the appointed from the abandoned. You think you're just getting older. You think these are just your declining years, your sunset season, your time to fade quietly into the background while younger generations take over. But what if I told you that every gray hair on your head, every wrinkle earned through decades of trusting God, every slow step you take with that walker, what if all of it has been preparing you for 2 specific days that could change everything? Some will rise, some will fall, but all will be measured. The drumbeat of eternity is pounding now. Can you hear it? Some will rise, some will fall, but all will be measured. This isn't a gentle Sunday morning sermon about God's love. This is a war cry from the throne room of the Almighty, echoing down through the corridors of time to find you right here, right now, in this sacred moment. God has done this before. When Noah was 600 years old, the Lord didn't whisper suggestions about building boats. Genesis 7:4 records God's exact words. 7 days from now, I will send rain on the earth for 40 days and 40 nights. Not maybe or eventually or when you feel ready. 7 specific days. Noah had to choose. Obey the appointment or drown with the mockers who called him a crazy old man. When Moses was 80 older than most of you listening right now, God didn't send him a gentle retirement package. Exodus 3:10 thunders with divine command. So now, go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people the Israelites out of Egypt. An 80-year-old man with a speech impediment called to confront the most powerful ruler on earth. Moses could answer the appointment or watch his people die in slavery. And when Jesus walked the dusty roads toward Jerusalem, knowing the cross awaited, he declared in John 12:23, "The hour has come for the Son of Man to be glorified." Not the hour might come someday, not when circumstances align. The hour has come. Divine timing doesn't negotiate. It doesn't wait for convenience. It waits for obedience. Now hear me clearly. Dear one, your hour has come. The 1st of September and 2nd. God is setting appointments, supernatural encounters, breakthrough moments that will either catapult you into the final chapter of your destiny or leave you wondering what you missed while you were complaining about your arthritis and watching reruns of The Price is Right. You've been asking God, why am I still here? Why didn't you take me when you took Harold? Why am I alone in this big house with nothing but memories and medicine bottles? But God has been asking you a different question. Are you ready for what I kept you here to witness? The truth that will shatter your comfortable assumptions is this: you haven't been forgotten. You've been positioned. Every morning you wake up wondering if today will be your last is actually God saying, not yet, not until the 1st of September and 2nd, not until my chosen one sees what I'm about to unveil. These dates aren't random. They're not pulled from thin air by some overzealous preacher trying to get your attention. These dates have been written in heaven's ledger since before the foundation of the world, waiting for the moment when spiritual darkness would be so thick that God would need seasoned warriors like you, who've walked with him through decades of joy and sorrow to stand in the gap. But here's the terrifying truth that should make your soul tremble. Spiritual appointments don't get rescheduled. When heaven calls your name at the appointed hour and you don't show up when you're too distracted by your daily routine, too comfortable in your quiet resignation, too convinced that this isn't for me, the opportunity passes. The door closes. The moment disappears into eternity, and you're left wondering why your prayers feel hollow, why your days feel empty, why God feels so distant. Right now, across America, in nursing homes from Brooklyn to Birmingham, in senior apartments from Phoenix to Philadelphia, God's chosen ones are feeling the same stirring in their spirits, the same restlessness, the same sense that something monumental is approaching. You're not crazy. You're not imagining it. You're tuned into heaven's frequency. The 1st of September and 2nd, will you show up or will you sleep through destiny? The enemy wants you to believe your best days are behind you, that your purpose expired with your retirement, that God only uses young people for significant assignments. But Abraham was 100 when Isaac was born. Moses was 80 when the Red Sea parted. Anna was 84 when she recognized the Messiah in the temple. Your age isn't your disqualification, it's your certification. You've been tested, tried, and proven faithful. Type in the comments where you're watching from tonight. Let heaven map where the chosen ones are awake across this nation. From the retirement communities of Florida to the farmhouses of Iowa, from the brownstones of New York to the suburbs of California, let's see who's listening when God speaks. Because what's about to be revealed about the 1st of September and 2nd will explain why every closed door in your life was actually God protecting what he's about to open. You know what it's like, don't you? To sit in a house that used to be full of laughter and now echoes with silence. To look at wedding photos on the mantle where your beloved's smile will never change. But your heart breaks a little more each morning when you reach for coffee, and remember you only need to make one cup. How many nights have you cried into pillows that nobody heard? How many times have you whispered, God, are you still there? Into the darkness of a Brooklyn apartment, a Chicago suburb, a farmhouse in Iowa, where the only sound is the hum of the refrigerator and your own breathing. But listen to me, chosen one. Psalm 56:8 tells us that God keeps every tear in a bottle. Every single drop that has fallen from your eyes at 2 a.m., when the loneliness felt like it would crush your chest. He caught them, he counted them, he treasured them. You had dreams once, didn't you? Dreams that made your heart race when you were 30, 40, 50 years old. Maybe you were going to travel to Europe with Harold before he got sick. Maybe you were going to write that book, open that little shop, see your children succeed in ways that would make you proud to say, that's my son, or that's my daughter. But Harold never made it to Paris. The book stayed in your head. The shop remained a fantasy. And your children? They moved to California, to Texas, to places where area codes feel like foreign countries and phone calls feel like favors. The dreams dried up like autumn leaves, and you learned to live smaller, dream smaller, hope smaller, until hope itself became a luxury you couldn't afford because disappointment costs too much at 75. But what if I told you that every dream that seemed to die was actually being planted? What if every door that slammed shut was God's way of protecting you from settling for bronze when he was preparing gold? Look at Joseph, 17 years old, with dreams so big his brothers wanted to kill him. They threw him in a pit, sold him like livestock, and he spent 13 years in slavery and prison. 13 years, dear one. 13 years of wondering if God had forgotten his promises. 13 years of dreams that looked dead and buried in Egyptian soil. But Genesis 50:20 records Joseph's stunning revelation. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives. The pit wasn't punishment, it was positioning. The prison wasn't failure, it was preparation. The delay wasn't denial, it was divine setup. Think about Oprah Winfrey, fired from her first television job in Baltimore because they said she was unfit for television news. Too emotional, they said. Too invested, they said. But that rejection redirected her toward becoming the most influential media figure of our generation, reaching millions with messages of hope and transformation. Consider Steve Jobs, kicked out of Apple, the very company he built in his parents' garage. The rejection stung like betrayal. But that exile forced him to create Pixar, to innovate in ways that made his return to Apple a revolution that changed how the entire world communicates. The rejection was never rejection, it was redirection. The delay was never denial, it was development. The silence was never abandonment, it was preparation for amplification. You see, beloved, God doesn't work on Wall Street time where everything must happen by the end of the quarter. He works on eternal time where every setback is a setup, every breakdown is a breakthrough in disguise, and every delay is developing character that can handle the weight of what's coming. You've been asking, why me? When you should have been asking, why not yet? Because the answer to that question is about to be revealed on the 1st of September and 2nd. Every prayer you thought went unanswered has been accumulating in heaven's storehouse like compound interest. Every tear you've cried has been preparing soil for a harvest you never imagined. Every lonely night has been developing intimacy with God that will sustain you through the acceleration that's coming. Those friends who passed away before seeing their breakthrough, they're in the great cloud of witnesses now, cheering you on because they know your finish line is approaching. That spouse who never got to see the promises fulfilled, they're watching from glory, knowing that their prayers over you are about to be answered in ways that will make heaven rejoice. You've been faithful in the waiting room, but the 1st of September and the 2nd of March, your appointment with destiny. The doctor is ready to see you now. The breakthrough has been scheduled, the delay has served its purpose, and the delivery is at your door. But here's what will devastate your heart if you miss it. Destiny doesn't wait for you to feel ready. It arrives at the appointed time, and those who are spiritually awake receive it, while those who are sleeping miss the visitation. If you've ever felt rejected but you're still alive, if you've ever felt forgotten but you're still breathing, if you've ever felt like your dreams died but your heart is still beating, write in the comments, "I am still here." This is your prophetic sign that the God who kept you through the valley is about to promote you on the mountain, because the pain of delay is about to become the power of divine timing. And the 1st of September and 2nd are the dates when everything you've endured finally makes sense. You felt it, haven't you? That restless stirring in your spirit at 3 a.m. when the house is quiet and your arthritis won't let you sleep. That knowing deep in your bones that something is shifting in the heavens above your little apartment in Queens, your farmhouse in Iowa, your retirement community in Florida. What you're feeling isn't insomnia. It's anticipation. Heaven preparing you for what's coming. The 1st of September and 2nd are not random dates circled on your calendar between your cardiologist appointment and your granddaughter's birthday. These are spiritual checkpoints, divine GPS coordinates, where eternity intersects with time, where the supernatural crashes into your natural world like lightning splitting the darkness. Let me paint you a picture that will haunt your dreams and awaken your spirit. The 1st of September, the day of awakening. Picture this. You wake up that morning, and for the first time in decades, the fog in your mind has lifted. The confusion about your purpose, the doubt about whether God still has plans for you at 87 years old gone, like scales falling from Paul's eyes on the Damascus road. Spiritual blindness shatters. You see clearly why you survived the heart attack in 2098, why you outlived your spouse, why you're still breathing when your high school yearbook shows half your class has already gone home to glory. You were kept for this moment, this awakening, this divine appointment. But the 1st of September is just the beginning. The 2nd of September, the day of crossing. The doors that have been welded shut for 30 years begin to creak open. The prayers you whispered over your prodigal son while he was strung out on heroin, suddenly his number appears on your phone. The financial breakthrough you stopped believing for when Social Security became your only hope. Envelopes arrive with checks you never expected. The healing you gave up praying for when the doctors said learn to live with it, symptoms begin reversing. Why these specific days? Why the 1st of September and 2nd? Because Ecclesiastes 3:1 declares with thunderous authority, "To everything there is a season, and a time to every purpose under heaven." God doesn't operate on Eastern Standard Time or Pacific Time. He operates on eternal time. And in eternal time, the 1st of September and 2nd are the precise moments when your season of waiting ends and your season of receiving begins. But here's the crushing reality that will either break your heart or break you free. These 2 days are the bridge over troubled waters. Miss the bridge, and you drown in delay. Cross the bridge, and you enter the promised land you've been circling for decades. Think about it. How many years have you been driving the same routes in your neighborhood, eating dinner at 5 p.m. sharp, taking your medications like clockwork, believing that routine is all you have left? How many times have you looked in the bathroom mirror and whispered, "God, is this all there is? Just waiting to die?" That whisper is about to be answered with a roar. Moses was 80 years old, your age. Dear one, when God appeared in the burning bush. 80 years of exile, of tending sheep, of believing his moment had passed. But Exodus 3:10 records God saying, "Come now therefore, and I will send thee unto Pharaoh." Not I sent you 40 years ago. I will send you. Present tense, current assignment, fresh anointing at 80 years old. Sarah was 90 when she conceived Isaac. 90. Her womb was dead. Her hope was buried. Her faith was fossilized. But Genesis 21:2 declares, Sarah conceived and bare Abraham a son in his old age, at the set time of which God had spoken, at the set time, the appointed time. The 1st of September and 2nd of her destiny. What you do on the 1st of September and 2nd will echo in eternity. The choices you make, the prayers you pray, the faith you demonstrate, it all cascades through generations you'll never meet. Your great-granddaughter, not yet born, will walk in blessing because of your obedience in these 2 days. Your family line will shift because you didn't sleep through destiny. But preparation is required. This isn't passive. This isn't let's see what happens. This is warfare preparation. This is Moses returning to Egypt with a staff that becomes a serpent. This is David picking up 5 smooth stones before facing Goliath. You must fast. Not because God needs your hunger, but because your spirit needs the clarity that only comes when flesh submits to spirit. 1 meal a day, water and the word. Let your body remember it's not in charge of this appointment. You must pray. Not your usual now I lay me down to sleep routine. Desperate prayer. Wrestling prayer. Jacob at Peniel prayer that says, I will not let you go unless you bless me. From the 1st of September sunrise to the 2nd of September sunset, your knees must know the carpet in your bedroom. You must journal. Write down every dream, every whisper, every stirring you feel. God speaks in fragments during seasons of breakthrough, and you'll need to piece together the full picture later. Buy a notebook. Date every entry. Heaven is about to download blueprints for your remaining years. The question burning in your chest right now isn't, is this real? You know it's real. Your spirit is already confirming what your mind is struggling to accept. The question is, am I really chosen at my age? Does God still have appointments for someone who needs a walker to get to the mailbox? The answer will shatter every limitation you've accepted about your twilight years. Type in the comments right now, I will prepare, not tomorrow, not when you feel ready, right now. Because preparation begins with declaration, and declaration begins with the courage to believe that the 1st of September and 2nd are your divine coordinates for breakthrough. But what happens if you prepare? And what happens if you don't? That revelation will determine whether you spend your final years in regret or in the glory you were always meant to carry. But knowing the dates isn't enough. Chosen one. You can't just circle the 1st of September and 2nd on your calendar like you're marking a dentist appointment and expect heaven to move. These aren't ordinary days that you stumble into unprepared. These are divine encounters that demand spiritual readiness. How many times have you missed God because you weren't paying attention? How many divine appointments have you slept through because you were spiritually unprepared? How many breakthrough moments passed you by while you were distracted by the evening news or arguing with your neighbor about the property line? Let me tell you about Martha Henderson from Flatbush. 83 years old, buried her husband of 57 years. Children scattered across the country like leaves in October wind. She sat in that empty house for 2 years, convinced her useful days were over. But in 2019, something stirred in her spirit during a night of prayer. God whispered a date to her, the 15th of March. She didn't know why, but she prepared. She fasted, she prayed, she positioned her heart. On the 15th of March, her doorbell rang. A young mother from down the block, tears streaming, holding a crying baby. Mrs. Henderson, I don't know why I came here, but I felt like God told me to knock on your door. That encounter birthed a ministry that has reached over 3,000 broken families in Brooklyn alone. Martha's empty house became a sanctuary. Her loneliness became her calling. But it only happened because she prepared for the appointed time. Here are the 3 non-negotiables for the 1st of September and 2nd that will determine whether you experience breakthrough or regret. First, watch and pray. Jesus commanded in Luke 21:36, "Watch therefore, and pray always that you may be counted worthy." This isn't casual Sunday morning prayer over pancakes and coffee. This is spiritual vigilance. This is Daniel in the lion's den intensity. You must position yourself like a watchman on the wall, alert to every whisper of heaven, sensitive to every movement of the Spirit. Starting now, not tomorrow, not next week, Set aside 30 minutes every morning to watch and pray. Turn off your phone, silence the television, sit before God like you're waiting for the president to call, because something far greater than any earthly authority is about to speak. Second, align your heart. Amos 3-7 declares, "Surely the Lord God does nothing unless he reveals his secret to his servants the prophets." God reveals his plans to those whose hearts beat in rhythm with his. But alignment isn't automatic. It's intentional. It's costly. What in your heart is out of alignment with God's will? What bitterness are you still nursing from 1987? What unforgiveness is clogging your spiritual arteries? What fear is whispering that you're too old, too forgotten, too insignificant for God to use? The 1st of September and second demand: a clean heart, not a perfect one, a surrendered heart. Get alone with God. Confess what's been weighing you down. Release what's been holding you back. Let the Holy Spirit search your heart like a surgeon with divine precision, because misaligned hearts miss divine appointments. Third, expect the unexpected. Paul writes in Ephesians 3:20 that God is able to do exceedingly abundantly above all that we ask or think. Your natural mind cannot calculate what God is planning for the 1st of September and 2nd. Your past experience cannot predict it. Your current circumstances cannot limit it. Stop trying to figure out how God will move. Start preparing for the shock of his power. The widow's oil that never ran empty defied economics. The virgin birth defied biology. The resurrection defied death itself. God specializes in the impossible, and these 2 days are marked for impossibility. Let me give you practical steps that will position you for maximum impact. Get a journal, not your phone, an actual pen and paper journal. Write down every dream, every scripture that jumps off the page, every prophetic word that lands in your spirit. God speaks in whispers, and whispers require careful listening. Set aside time for worship. Not just singing along with the radio, deliberate, focused worship that invites God's presence. When his presence comes, supernatural things follow. Find moments of complete silence. In our noisy world, silence has become a lost art, but God still speaks in the still, small voice. Here's the truth that will either terrify you or ignite you. God is not late. He is precise. The 1st of September and 2nd are not random dates. They are precision strikes of heaven, calculated to the nanosecond, positioned for maximum impact in your life and the lives of those connected to your destiny. You've spent decades wondering if God forgot about you, wondering if your best days are behind you, wondering if that fire you once felt was just youthful enthusiasm that age has extinguished. But what if God has been positioning you, preparing you, preserving you for these exact moments? What if every closed door was protecting you from premature elevation? What if every delay was divine timing ensuring you'd be ready for what's coming? What if every year you've lived, every gray hair you've earned, every line on your face is actually a credential for the assignment awaiting you on the 1st of September and 2nd? The question burning in heaven's throne room isn't whether you're qualified. The question is whether you'll be ready when precision strikes. But chosen one, the warning was never the end of the story. The alarm was never meant to terrify you into paralysis. It was meant to wake you up to the most breathtaking season of your entire life. You've been asking God for years, when will my children come home? The 1st of September, that phone rings. When will this financial burden lift? The 2nd of September, the check arrives. When will my body feel strong again? These 2 days, strength floods your bones like rivers in the desert. You think your greatest chapters were written in your 20s, your 30s, when your back was straight and your hair was brown. But what if I told you that everything before now was just the opening credits? What if your 70s, 80s, 90s are when the real movie begins? Listen to me carefully, dear one. The 1st of September is not just a date, it's sunrise breaking over the mountains of your despair. The 2nd of September is not just another day, It's the gate swinging wide open to everything you thought you'd lost forever. Do you remember the children of Israel at Jericho? For 6 days they walked around those massive walls in silence. 6 days of looking at impossible barriers, hearing the mockery from the other side, wondering if God had brought them to the desert to die. On day 6, those walls looked exactly the same as day 1. Nothing had moved, nothing had changed. But Joshua knew something they didn't understand yet. God's timing is surgical, divine, perfect. On the 7th day, that's when they shouted. And beloved, when they opened their mouths and released the sound of faith, those walls didn't just crack. They didn't slowly crumble. They collapsed instantly, completely, catastrophically. That's what's coming for you, chosen one. The walls of loneliness that have imprisoned you for decades, they're about to fall. The barriers between you and your prodigal children, they're about to collapse. The financial limitations that have choked your dreams, they're about to be obliterated. The 1st of September and 2nd are your 7th day, your shouting day, your wall-falling day. But here's what will astound you. This isn't just about you. God has been positioning you, preparing you, seasoning you through every trial, every tear, every sleepless night, not just for your own breakthrough, but to become a patriarch, a matriarch, a spiritual giant in your family tree. Your grandchildren who barely know your name are about to seek your wisdom. Your adult children who've been too proud to ask for help are about to bow their heads and say, "Mom, Dad, we need you. We need your prayers. We need your strength." You felt useless, forgotten, shuffled aside by a world that worships youth. But God has been crafting you into something the young cannot be, a living testament to His faithfulness, a walking miracle, a breathing biography of grace. Imagine this. The 1st of September dawns and the phone calls start. Your daughter, the one who hasn't spoken to you in 3 years, her voice breaking, "Dad, I had a dream. I need to come home." Your son, the one who mocked your faith, suddenly desperate. "Mom, would you pray for me?" The 2nd of September arrives, and the mailbox that usually holds nothing but bills suddenly overflows with unexpected blessings. Insurance checks you forgot you were owed. Inheritance money from relatives you barely remembered. Investment returns that defy every economic prediction. But more than money, more than restored relationships, more than physical healing, you're about to step into a spiritual authority that will make demons tremble and angels take notes. When you speak, things shift. When you pray, barriers dissolve. When you declare God's promises over your family, generational curses break like glass hitting concrete. This is not fantasy, beloved. This is prophetic reality breaking into your ordinary Tuesday afternoon. Ezekiel 37:4 records God commanding the prophet, "Prophesy to these bones and say to them, 'Dry bones, hear the word of the Lord.'" And what happened? The bones came together, sinew connected, flesh appeared, breath entered. Your dry bones are about to hear the word of the Lord on the 1st of September and 2nd. Every dream that died, every hope that withered, every promise that seemed forgotten, they're about to rattle with new life. You've been a survivor, but these 2 days transform you into a victor. You've been enduring, but now you're about to be enjoying. You've been barely making it, but heaven is about to make you the head and not the tail. The senior center where you play bingo twice a week is about to become your mission field. The doctor's office where you spend half your time is about to become your pulpit. The grandchildren who see you as ancient history are about to discover you carry ancient wisdom that their smartphones can't download. The 1st of September is sunrise after the longest night of your life. The 2nd of September is the open gate to territory you thought was lost forever. Right now, even as these words wash over your spirit, something is shifting in the heavenly realm. Angels are taking new positions around your life. Demonic assignments that have harassed your family for generations are being reassigned to flee. Your name is being spoken in the courts of heaven with fresh authority, new anointing, unstoppable momentum. Lift your hands right where you are. Don't worry who's watching. Don't care if you're in McDonald's or your living room or the hospital waiting room. Lift your hands and declare aloud, "This is my crossing. This is my appointed time. The 1st of September and 2nd, I receive everything God has prepared for me." Say it until your voice shakes the atmosphere around you. Because when a chosen one finally remembers who they are, heaven and earth take notice, and nothing can stop what God has already set in motion. Don't think it's over yet. The 1st of September and 2nd are still unfolding as heaven's thunder. You felt something stir in your chest when I first spoke these dates, didn't you? That wasn't just emotion. That wasn't your imagination running wild in your Brooklyn apartment or your quiet house in Queens. That was your spirit recognizing the sound of divine timing breaking through 70, 80, 90 years of ordinary days. But here's what terrifies me about God's chosen ones. The moment you feel that holy fire, the enemy whispers, "It's probably nothing. You're getting too excited. Calm down." And slowly, that burning urgency fades back into the background noise of Medicare appointments and grocery lists. Don't you dare let that happen. 2 days, 2 gates, 2 choices. Listen to me, beloved. When God marks time in the spiritual realm, He doesn't do it casually. He doesn't circle dates on heaven's calendar for fun. Every prophetic moment in Scripture came with this same pattern. Divine appointment, human choice, eternal consequence. It's like the Red Sea standing before Moses and 2 million terrified Israelites. The waters were opening, supernatural, impossible, undeniable, but they had to move. They had to step into the muddy riverbed while walls of water towered over their heads. If they hesitated, if they second-guessed, if they stood there analyzing whether this was really God or just a coincidence, those waters would have crashed down and buried them in doubt. That's exactly where you are right now. The waters are opening. The 1st of September and 2nd represent your Red Sea moment. But you have to choose to step forward while the miracle is happening, not after it's over. You've been asking God for years, "When will my breakthrough come? When will my children return to you? When will my health be restored? When will my finances turn around?" And now He's given you specific dates, the 1st of September and 2nd, and suddenly you're wondering if you should take it seriously. Let me ask you something that might cut deep. How many times have you asked God for a sign, and when He gave you one, you explained it away? How many times have you prayed for clarity, and when it came, you called it coincidence? How many divine appointments have you missed because they didn't look like what you expected? Here's the brutal truth that most 70-year-old, 80-year-old, 90-year-old believers won't admit. You've become comfortable with unanswered prayer. You've made peace with delay. You've trained yourself to expect nothing supernatural because disappointment hurts less than hope. But God hasn't made peace with your settling. He hasn't accepted your resignation from expectation. That's why He's shaking you awake right now with dates so specific, so urgent, that you can't ignore them without feeling the weight of eternity in your bones. In Daniel 10:14, the angel tells Daniel, "I have come to explain to you what will happen to your people in the future, for the vision concerns a time yet to come." Daniel had been praying and fasting for 21 days, wondering if God was listening. Then heaven opened and gave him specific revelation about future events. You've been praying longer than 21 days, haven't you? Some of you have been crying out to God for 21 years, and now, like Daniel, you're receiving specific dates, specific timing, specific windows when heaven will move. The 1st of September and 2nd aren't suggestions. They're not possibilities. They're divine appointments that were scheduled before you were born, and your name is written in heaven's calendar for these days. But here's what will haunt you forever if you ignore this moment. Spiritual opportunities don't repeat themselves. When the Red Sea opens, you walk through, or you wander in the wilderness for 40 more years. When the angel visits, you receive the message, or you miss your destiny. The prophet Jeremiah warned in Jeremiah 8:20, "The harvest is past, the summer is ended, and we are not saved." There's a holy urgency in those words that should shake every chosen one awake. Some seasons pass, and if you weren't positioned to receive what God was releasing, you watch it pass by like a train you were too slow to catch. Don't let the 1st of September and 2nd become your missed train. If you are still awake in the spirit, if something ancient and eternal is stirring in your chest right now, write in the comments, "I refuse to miss it." Don't just think it. Declare it. Let heaven hear your voice rising above the noise of doubt and fear, because what I'm about to reveal next will explain exactly what happens when heaven's appointed times collide with human readiness, and why missing these dates could cost you the very breakthrough you've been waiting decades to receive. Dear one, let me speak to the part of you that nobody sees. The part that wakes up at 3:17 a.m. with your heart pounding, staring at the ceiling, wondering if this chest pain is just gas, or if you're about to join your husband in glory. The part that checks your phone 17 times a day, hoping your daughter will finally return your call. The part that counts pills in the morning and wonders which one will run out first, your medications or your money. You've been in the valley, haven't you? Not just any valley. The valley of the shadow of death that David wrote about in Psalm 23. The valley where every shadow looks like a threat, where every sound makes you jump, where every doctor's appointment feels like a sentencing hearing. You know this valley intimately. You've walked its dark paths for months, maybe years. Remember when the doctor looked at those test results and said, "We need to run more tests"? Remember that moment when your grandson looked right through you at Thanksgiving dinner, too busy with his phone to hear your stories about the old neighborhood? Remember when you opened that Social Security statement and realized you might outlive your savings? That's when you asked the questions that echo through every sleepless night. Lord, why me? Lord, how long? Lord, where are you? David asked those same questions in Psalm 13. How long, Lord? Will you forget me forever? How long will you hide your face from me? How long must I wrestle with my thoughts and day after day have sorrow in my heart? Even the mighty prophet Elijah, the man who called down fire from heaven, found himself under a broom tree in the wilderness, begging God to let him die. 1 Kings 19:4 tells us he prayed, "I have had enough, Lord. Take my life. I am no better than my ancestors." If you've ever felt that hopeless, you're in good company. You've sat in doctors' waiting rooms that smell like disinfectant and despair, watching younger patients walk out with smiles while you wait for results that might change everything. You've balanced your checkbook at the kitchen table, moving money around like pieces on a chessboard, hoping to make it through another month. You've called your children and heard that distant tone in their voices, polite but hurried, loving but distracted, caring but busy with their own lives, that somehow don't have room for your wisdom anymore. The valley has whispered lies to you. It told you that your best years are behind you, that your voice doesn't matter anymore, that you're just taking up space, waiting for your number to be called. It convinced you that the pain in your joints is a countdown timer, that the fog in your memory is a sunset, that the silence of your phone is proof that you've become invisible. But beloved, what if I told you that the valley was never your destination? What if every dark night, every fearful moment, every tear you've cried alone was actually preparation? What if the enemy's greatest mistake was leaving you alive to tell about it? Look at your hands right now. Those hands that have changed diapers and signed mortgage papers, that have held wedding bouquets and funeral programs, that have prayed over sick children and counted rosary beads. Those hands are still moving. Your heart is still beating. Your lungs are still drawing breath. Your survival is not an accident. It's evidence. If the enemy could have destroyed you, he would have. If that heart attack in 2098 was supposed to take you home, it would have. If that cancer diagnosis was meant to be your final chapter, the book would have closed. But you're still here, still breathing, still chosen. The valley tested you, but it didn't claim you. The shadows threatened you, but they didn't consume you. The fear whispered your name, but grace answered louder. You asked, Lord, why me? Lord, how long? Lord, where are you? And heaven's response wasn't words, it was your next heartbeat. It was your next sunrise. It was your next chance to pray for that wayward grandchild, to encourage that lonely neighbor, to be the living proof that God doesn't abandon his own. Every morning you wake up is heaven's declaration. Not yet. I'm not finished with you yet. The valley was your classroom, not your cemetery. It taught you that your strength doesn't come from your 401 Kelvin balance or your blood pressure readings. It comes from the unshakable knowledge that the God who kept you through every storm isn't planning to drop you now. The 1st of September and 2nd are approaching like dawn after your longest night. But this time, you're not walking into the valley, you're walking out of it, and you're not walking alone. You're carrying the wisdom of every tear, the authority of every prayer, the power of every testimony that begins with "I shouldn't be here, but by God's grace." Say it out loud right now. Let your voice break the silence that has held you too long. I survived for a reason. Because the valley was never meant to bury you. It was meant to birth something in you that only comes through the fire of testing, something that the 1st of September and 2nd will finally reveal. Chosen one. Let me tell you something that will shake you to your bones. The 1st of September and 2nd aren't just dates circled on heaven's calendar, they are divine examinations. Tests that will expose whether you've been truly walking with God or just walking through the motions for the past 70 years of your life. How many tests have you failed because you thought you had more time? How many opportunities slipped through your arthritic fingers because you believed tomorrow was guaranteed? How many divine appointments did you miss while you were busy complaining about your social security check? The 1st of September is your test of vigilance. The 2nd of September is your test of obedience. One day reveals your watchfulness, the other proves your readiness. And here's what will terrify you. God doesn't grade on a curve. He doesn't give extra credit for good intentions or partial marks for showing up late. When heaven's alarm sounds, you're either awake or you're not. When the divine door opens, you either walk through or watch it close forever. Think about the children of Israel wandering in that desert for 40 long years. Deuteronomy 8:2 tells us exactly why. Remember how the Lord your God led you all the way in the wilderness these 40 years, to humble and test you in order to know what was in your heart, whether or not you would keep his commands. 40 years of testing, 40 years of divine examination. And you know what happened to those who failed. They died in the wilderness, never seeing the promised land. They could smell the milk and honey from across the Jordan River, but they never tasted it because they couldn't pass God's test when it mattered most. Dear one, you've been in your own wilderness for decades. Every sleepless night wondering if your prayers matter. Every funeral where you asked God, "Why not me?" Every doctor's visit where the news got worse instead of better. Every Christmas when your children were too busy for more than a phone call. All of it, every single moment of heartbreak and waiting, has been preparing you for the 1st of September and 2nd. But listen carefully to what I'm about to tell you, because this will either save your destiny or haunt your remaining days. Last month, I received a call from an elderly widow in Queens, 83 years old, lived alone in the same apartment for 47 years. She told me that 3 weeks earlier, the Holy Spirit had whispered to her heart, "Sell everything. Move to Florida. Your daughter needs you." 3 weeks she wrestled with that word. 3 weeks she made excuses. "Lord, I'm too old to move. Lord, my arthritis is too bad. Lord, what if my daughter doesn't really need me?" 3 weeks of delay, 3 weeks of disobedience disguised as wisdom. On the 4th week, her daughter called. Breast cancer, stage 4. The doctors said 6 months if she was lucky. This precious grandmother tried to book the next flight to Tampa, tried to be there for the battle of her daughter's life. But it was too late. Her daughter died 3 days after the diagnosis, alone in a hospital room, wondering why her mother never came when she needed her most. That widow is still sitting in Queens tonight, staring at walls that mock her disobedience, carrying guilt that no medication can heal. She had her test of obedience, and she failed it. The cost, everything that mattered. Heaven's clock is not forgiving, beloved. Divine timing doesn't accommodate your comfort zone, your fears, your need to overthink every divine whisper until it becomes a distant memory. When God sets a date, when He marks the 1st of September and 2nd, as your moment of testing, ignoring this moment will cost you everything. Everything you've prayed for, everything you've waited for, everything you've believed God for during those 3 a.m. conversations when you couldn't sleep and your heart was breaking for reasons you couldn't even name. The test is coming, whether you feel ready or not. The 1st of September will reveal if you've been truly watching or just glancing. Have you been spiritually alert, sensitive to His voice, responsive to His promptings? Or have you been spiritually sleepwalking through your golden years, assuming that longevity equals spiritual maturity? The 2nd of September will prove your obedience. When heaven speaks, will you move immediately, or will you debate with the Almighty like that widow in Queens? Will you trust His voice more than your fears, His timing more than your convenience, His plan more than your comfort? This isn't a drill, chosen one. This isn't practice. This is the real examination, and the grade you receive will determine not just your earthly destiny but your eternal legacy. Will your grandchildren remember you as the one who walked in power or the one who walked in regret? Right now, I want you to do something that might seem small but carries the weight of eternity. Take your phone, yes, right now, write down today's date, and underneath it declare with every ounce of faith left in your weathered heart, no more delay. Say it out loud. No more delay. Let your own voice hear your commitment. Let heaven hear your declaration. Let hell tremble at your decision to finally stop postponing your divine appointment with destiny. Because the 1st of September and 2nd are coming whether you're prepared or not, and the question that will echo through eternity is this: when God called your name for the final examination of your faith, did you show up ready? Or did you sleep through the most important test of your life? Picture this, chosen one. You're standing at the end of a narrow cobblestone path that winds through the mist of eternity. Before you rise 2 doors, each one carved from the very fabric of destiny itself. The first door appears on the 1st of September. It's weathered wood, dark with age, no wider than the entrance to your grandmother's prayer closet. This is not a door that invites comfort. This is not a door that promises ease. The brass nameplate reads simply, humility. The keyhole is shaped like praying hands. And beloved, I need you to understand something that will shake you to your core. This narrow door demands everything the world taught you to protect. Your pride, your reputation, your need to have all the answers at 85 years old. Can you see it? The grain in that ancient wood tells the story of every saint who ever chose to bow low before the Most High. Moses saw this door when he removed his sandals at the burning bush. David walked through it when he cried out, "Create in me a clean heart, O God," after his great failure. Peter stumbled through it, weeping bitterly after denying Christ 3 times. But here's what will devastate you if you don't listen. This first door only opens for 24 hours. 24 hours to lay down 70, 80, 90 years of thinking you had life figured out. 24 hours to admit that maybe, just maybe, all those sleepless nights weren't insomnia. Maybe they were God trying to get your attention. Maybe those random pains in your chest weren't just old age. Maybe they were birth pangs of something divine trying to break through. Now let me paint the second door for you. The 2nd of September. It rises before you like the gates of Solomon's temple, crafted from pure gold that catches the light of 7 suns. This door doesn't just open, it swings wide on hinges that sing Hosanna. The nameplate blazes with fire, favor, breakthrough, destiny. Behind this golden gate lies everything you've prayed for in those 3 a.m. conversations with God, the healing you've begged for, the reconciliation with your prodigal children, the financial miracle that would let you stop choosing between medication and groceries, the peace that would finally quiet the storm in your mind. But here's the crushing truth that most will discover too late. You cannot reach the golden gate without walking through the wooden door first. Ignore the first door, and the second will never open. Let that settle into the deepest part of your spirit. God's mathematics are not negotiable. Humble yourself, and He will lift you up. That's James 4:10. But try to skip the humbling. Try to bypass the narrow door of surrender, and you'll spend eternity pressing against a golden gate that will never budge. 2 doors, 2 choices, 2 eternities. Dear chosen one, why do you think Jesus said in Matthew 7:14, "Narrow is the gate, and difficult is the way which leads to life, and there are few who find it"? Because most people spend their entire lives looking for the golden door while refusing to see the wooden one right in front of them. You want to know why your prayers feel like they're bouncing off the ceiling? Because you've been knocking on the golden gate while stepping over the wooden door. You've been demanding breakthrough while refusing to break. You've been crying out for God's favor while clutching your reputation like a life preserver. The narrow door of the 1st of September will strip away everything that isn't eternal. Every grudge you've nursed since 1987. Every bitter word you've rehearsed about your ex-husband. Every moment you felt entitled to God's blessings because you tithed faithfully for 60 years. None of that passes through the wooden door. None of it. But here's what will shatter every defense mechanism you've built. The stripping isn't punishment, it's preparation. Just like a surgeon must cut away diseased tissue to save the patient, God must remove what's killing your spirit before He can resurrect your destiny. Abraham knew this when God called him to Mount Moriah. That narrow path up the mountain was his wooden door, the place where he had to surrender the very thing God had promised him, Isaac on the altar. But only when Abraham raised the knife did the golden gate of covenant swing wide open. Do you see it now? Can you feel the weight of this divine mystery pressing on your chest like a hand from heaven? The 1st of September is your wooden door. The day you stop pretending you have it all figured out and fall on your face before the Almighty. The 2nd of September is your golden gate. The day He lifts you up with favor that will leave your doctors speechless and your children calling to ask what happened to you. But beloved, here's the question that will haunt you if you don't answer it right now. Will you walk through both doors, or will you stand outside both and wonder why heaven seems so quiet? Type in the comments, "I will walk through both doors." Not because it's easy, not because it makes sense, but because the King of Kings is calling your name, and when royalty summons you, you don't negotiate the entrance requirements. The doors are already forming in the Spirit. Can you see them? Can you feel the weight of decision settling on your shoulders like a mantle from heaven itself? Beloved, chosen one, as we reach the end of this divine encounter, let me remind you of the sacred truths that heaven has whispered into your spirit tonight. The 1st of September and 2nd are not ordinary dates on your kitchen calendar. They are divine appointments carved into eternity itself, moments when the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob will separate those who are merely surviving from those who are truly alive in His purpose. Remember the 2 doors, the narrow wooden door of humility on the 1st of September, and the golden gate of breakthrough on the 2nd of September. One cannot exist without the other. But hear me clearly, dear one, you are not walking this path alone. The same God who kept you breathing through that heart surgery in 2019, who carried you through the dark valley when your spouse went home to glory, who has been your strength when your children couldn't understand your pain, that same faithful God is moving on your behalf right now, even as these words settle into your heart. You have a family here too. Thousands of believers across this nation who understand the loneliness of being the last one standing in your generation, who know the weight of carrying prayers for prodigal children, who have felt the ache of wondering if God still sees them. We see you, we understand you, we are praying with you and for you. Let me ask you this final question that will echo in your spirit long after this video ends. If God has kept you alive until this very moment to hear this message about the 1st of September and 2nd, what will you do with this divine revelation? Now, Let me place my hand on your shoulder through these words and pray over your life with the authority of one who has walked with the Almighty for decades. Heavenly Father, I lift up every precious soul who has stayed with us through this entire message. Lord, you see them sitting in their living rooms, lying in their beds, perhaps fighting tears because something deep inside recognizes your voice calling their name. You know the battles they've fought in silence, the prayers they've whispered at 3 a.m., the loneliness that visits them like an unwelcome friend. Father, I speak life over their weary bones. I speak hope over their discouraged hearts. I speak clarity over their confused minds. Let them know with absolute certainty that their best days are not behind them, they are ahead of them. These September dates are not endings, but beginnings of something so magnificent that heaven itself has been preparing for this moment. God, remove every lie that whispers they're too old, too broken, too forgotten. Replace those lies with your truth. They are chosen, they are loved, they are seen, and they are needed for your kingdom purposes. Open the wooden door of humility in their hearts, and let your golden gate of favor swing wide in their circumstances. Protect them, Lord. Provide for them. Heal their bodies where healing is needed. Reconcile their families where relationships are broken. Let your peace that surpasses understanding guard their hearts and minds in Christ Jesus, and let them sleep tonight, knowing that the God of the universe knows their name and has marked them for supernatural breakthrough. In Jesus' mighty name, amen. If this message has touched your heart, don't keep it to yourself. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Tell us what city you're watching from, what this word means to you, or simply ask us to pray for something specific in your life. Your vulnerability gives others permission to be honest about their own struggles. Share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Perhaps that friend from church who's been walking through a difficult season, or that family member who's been questioning God's goodness. You might be the vessel God uses to deliver His perfect word at the perfect time. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to this channel and ring that notification bell. This isn't just another YouTube channel, it's a sanctuary for the chosen ones, a place where mature believers can find encouragement, truth, and community. Every week, we gather here to be reminded of who we are and whose we are. Thank you for spending this sacred time with me. Thank you for opening your heart to receive what heaven wanted to pour into you tonight. You are loved beyond measure, and your story is far from over. The 1st of September and 2nd are approaching, and you are ready. Go now in the peace of the Lord, and may His face shine upon you until we meet again.